Welcome to Financial Strategies with Andrew Agemy in Connecticut and Daniel Agemy in Colorado.
AAA, I was talking to a client the other day, and we were going through the portfolio. And I said, George, you should take more money out of your portfolio. He said, yeah. I was like, if you're scrimping, if you're saving, if you're in retirement and you're scrimping, take more money out of the portfolio. And he said, if I had $1 million, then I would. And I said, George, you got it wrong. It's not if you have $1 million, it's how much income is your portfolio producing. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy. Welcome back. Today's show is entitled, How Big is Retirement Paycheck? And Daniel, that is the key, right? Everybody wants a magic number. Oh, I need $1 million. I need $2 million. I need $3 million to retire. No. How much do you need to retire? How much do you need to spend a year? Right. Like yesterday, I was doing a retirement readiness report with somebody and asking them how much do you need a year. And she didn't know, but I saw her taxes and I saw what she is being taxed on. And I said to her, is that how much that you need to live in? Yeah, that's what I need. Okay. And that is the key, right? How to create that paycheck every year. And that's why, this radio listener we're talking to, because she's been used to withdrawing from the portfolio, but she wants to change to taking a paycheck rather than taking from the principal, which I think is a great way to go.
Yeah. So AAA, what is a retirement paycheck? I think back to George, right, from the story at the beginning of the show. And George said, there is something to having $1 million. There is something to seeing that on your page. But the thing is, it really matters that retirement paycheck, because what I explained to George was typically when you're invested in most portfolios today, they generate somewhere around 1% to 2% of income. So even if he had $1 million, or before he came over to us, the way his portfolio was set up, that would generate somewhere around $15,000 a year of income. Mm-hmm. Even if it was $1 million, $15,000. So it doesn't matter if you say 4% rule. It doesn't matter if you look at all these things. What your portfolio is producing, before any fees, is $15,000. But his portfolio was, I think it was about $45,000 of income. Wow. So it's creating more reliable income. 45,000 is more than 15. Right. It's creating more reliable income than even if there was a $1 million portfolio. And that's the whole point of what is your retirement paycheck? Well, your retirement paycheck is what your assets will pay you when markets are going up, down, or sideways, right? Not spending your principal, but living off of your principal, right? You're turning your assets into a renewable resource.
Yeah. That, we're all about renewable resources today in this country, especially, right? Whether it's electric or whatever it is, something that is able to generate itself. But so many times people don't think about that when it comes to their financial portfolios. I mean, prior to retiring, people have kind of renewable resource. As long as they show up at work, they get a paycheck. Well, the problem is when they stop working, they stop getting that paycheck from work. But that's when their assets, when their portfolio, when their savings should take over to replace that paycheck. And so now it's a retirement paycheck. And that's why, we're calling this show, How Big is Your Retirement Paycheck? Because you need a paycheck, whether you're working or you're not working, you need a paycheck. And, in order to live the lifestyle that you want to live. And that's the key, is that you want, what lifestyle do you want to live? And So, yeah, and that's why I think we need to educate people and inform people that there's a different way, because Wall Street doesn't want people to know there's a different way of investing their money. They want people to think, oh, that 1.5% on average is what you're going to get. Because the more money Wall Street has, they make money whether the market goes up, down, or sideways. And the more they have in the market, the more they have of your money in the market, the more money that they make. And so they don't want you to think of that there's other ways of investing. So you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, how big is your retirement paycheck? And how big does it need to be? Well, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Everybody's got a different situation. But the key is, people say, well, I need $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. Well, we have a paper today that goes along with today's show. We'd love to give you. It's called, Have I Saved Enough to Retire? And as you go through this paper, it's going to help you to understand it's not so much about that magic number of lump sum that you may have, as much as what your paycheck's going to be from that money. We'd love to put this in your hand. It's easy to read, well-written paper that we put together for you for today. And you can have that for free by calling us at 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Have I saved enough to retire? 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Call now. You're listening to Financial Strategies because people don't know what people don't know. A lot of people don't know that, when it comes time to retire, you need to start getting the paycheck out of your assets. And Daniel, there's different ways that people get income, right? There's different ways. Sometimes they get a paycheck from different sources, right? But we're a proponent of making sure that their assets that they've saved are creating the right size paycheck.
Right. Well, if you could look at it like a three-legged stool or a stool. If the stool, the part you stand on, is your lifestyle, how do you want that supported? Do you want that supported with just one peg and you balance on it like a unicycle? That would be like if you just try to live off of Social Security, right? Possible, but it's going to take some acrobatics.
Well, yeah, and just real quick, Daniel, a lot of people don't know that most people getting Social Security is only going to, generally speaking, represent 40% of what people need to live on in retirement. So that's not good enough, right? The stool is going to be too short, and it's going to be one leg.
That's what I'm saying, AAA.
Right.
It's going to be acrobats, right? Some people could live off of that amount, but not most people. And so there's some acrobats involved in balancing that stool. Right. Maybe you have a special rent agreement, or you don't have that, or you have, right? We've seen people that do those types of things.
Right.
You add another leg, and maybe another leg would be like a pension or an annuity that give you a lifetime income. Now you got two legs. Now you're in better shape, but it's still acrobats keeping that lifestyle where you need it to be. Yeah. Once you add a third leg, AAA, now you're balanced, right? Now it's going to be a fairly stable stool. Your lifestyle is fairly stable, right?
Yeah, that's the whole idea behind 3A's, right? Andrew Allen Agemy, right? We got a nice stool going there. All right.
And typically that would be income from investments. Now you could have a 401k and you could say, this is my speculation bucket, but you still don't have the three legs, because that you cannot count on in down markets, which removes, again, one of the legs from your lifestyle. And we've heard people say that, right, AAA? We've heard people come in and talk to us about their portfolios, and they say, well, I'll pull the trigger quick if things go down. Or they say, well, I'm hoping things will keep going the way they are. That is not the way a three-legged stool supporting your lifestyle in retirement works. You don't want hope involved. You don't want you don't want to need the market gods to cooperate with you.
Exactly. And a lot of people have a lot of funny ideas when it comes to retirement. And Daniel, we retire vicariously through our clients every day. So we know what it's like to be 50 years old and retired, 60 years old and retired, 70 years old and retired, 80 and retired, 90 and retired, 100 and retired, right? And we see things come down the line that we're able to transmit and relay to our clients who have not yet been there. And so because of that, that's why we have the show, so that we can help people understand some things and have the right perspective, because all the info that they've been getting for the past 20, 30, 40 years of waiting for retirement changes when they retire. And that is one of the biggest pieces of information that they don't realize. So, if you're in our listening audience, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. And today's topic is, how big is your retirement paycheck? And that's the whole thing is, a lot of people say, can I retire? When can I retire? How much do I need to retire? There's all these things that go on with this. And we have a report that we would like to give to you. But first, we have to start with a conversation, which is, we call this the Retirement Readiness Report, Retirement Risk Report. And this conversation is, are you qualified? Is this something that's going to actually be able to help you? Because, we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste our time, but we want to help you. We want to educate you. This week, I talked with one of our radio listeners, lovely lady, but, the Retirement Risk Report wasn't going to be of importance to her because of her particular situation. She had those special agreements like you were talking about, Daniel, special rent agreement and that kind of thing, right? But, that's not how most people have it. So we'd love to have a retirement readiness report conversation with you. If you like that, call us at 800-725-7616. Ask for the RRR conversation, 800-725-7616. And we look forward to hearing from you. Please call now.
Important financial questions. Are you feeling confident that you have enough money saved to enjoy a stress-free retirement?
Honestly, I'm not sure.
That's where Retirement Income Sources investment advisory arm comes in. We exist to help you invest your money smartly.
I'm struggling to accept my retirement without a steady paycheck. So can you help me invest into a profitable revenue plan?
Absolutely. We have top advisors nationwide who have a fiduciary obligation to you, helping you generate retirement income.
This is Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
How big is your retirement paycheck? It's less about how much you have saved and more about how much income your savings can generate, how big of a paycheck your savings can give you in retirement. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about how big is your retirement paycheck. AAA, what is a retirement paycheck?
Well, when people go to work every day while they're working and get a paycheck to live their lifestyle. But in retirement and they stop working, well, they still need a paycheck to support their lifestyle. And the question is, where's it going to come from? And you were telling us about that three-legged plus stool in the first segment there, where most people depend upon Social Security, at least for one leg, if not, some people depend only on Social Security, but most people, Social Security is only a piece of the paycheck that they're going to get to create the lifestyle that they want to have in retirement. And emphasis on want to have, right? Because you can retire with what you need to retire, and that's what you need to be able to sit on the couch watching the news. Or you can retire with what you want to retire, so that if you want to go on trips, you want to do things for the grandkids, you want to buy a second home, you can, because you have what you want as a paycheck. And who wouldn't want a paycheck of what they want? Well, everybody wants more than what they have. And that's why I started, Daniel, with it's not about how much you saved as much about what you saved, how much it can generate. And that's what we're very good at Agemy Financial Strategies, is creating that big paycheck, as big as can be for the most part with retirees.
So it's changing the mindset from a capital appreciation or number go up and hope to making them productive assets, right, AAA? Right. Something in common with those three legs of the stool we talked about: Social Security, pension or annuity, and then investment income, dividends, interest. What makes them all in common? It's
their paychecks.
They're passive. You don't have to do anything to get them, right?
Yeah.
And that's the idea in retirement, right? that
right.
To have enough passive income so that you can do what you want Now, if you want to work a little, you can work a little. If you don't want to work a little, you don't have to work a little. Most people don't, but some people do. And that's the whole point of having the passive income. Now, we talked about having a few more legs in that stool, and some people have real estate income. It's probably less passive than those first three, but it's fairly passive. And some people have
you want to
loyalties.
define why you say less passive? Define why you say less passive.
AAA, I know. I have real estate. You have real estate, rental real estate.
Right.
And it is not passive. I know everyone talks about the idea. Like you listen to anybody on YouTube, you listen to anybody anywhere talking about income, and they talk about real estate as being passive in the way to retire. And it is not passive. It takes a lot of work. Your tenants are calling you up saying the heat is out. You're paying tax, you're paying huge tax bills on your real estate. You're making sure things are plowed. It's work. You're earning that money. It is not passive. Now, you could hire a manager to do all that for you, but then you have to see, well, what am I actually making on the value of this investment? If your real estate adds up to $500,000 and after you pay everybody, $15,000 is coming in, then you have to say, wait a second, I could put this into preferred stocks paying 6% and come up with $30,000 and I don't have to do anything. $30,000 is a lot better than $15,000 a year, right? AAA.
Yeah. Yeah, and without the work, right? That's why we always talking to people about all these people who are in real estate that calling from the radio show, and they're working hard for their 5 or 6% right? Whereas I say that's kind of silly because we got people making 5 or 6% or 7 without doing anything for it, letting their money be in the sweatshop instead of them being in the sweatshop. But okay, good. So even though retirement, it's kind of like, there's another thing, right? Like there's so many things out there that they're touted as a certain way, like putting money away in your pre-tax, right? In your 401k. Oh, because you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. Not always true. Usually it's not true. And there's so many other things there's another thing, right? Real estate. It's passive income.
And it's customized.
Not really.
It's customized based off of you. And it needs to change based off what's going in the markets. And I think that's what gets stuck in people's heads. Somebody said to me the other day, wow, I've been listening to your show and you and your dad, you guys really don't like the market. And I said, I just don't see value in the market, in the stock market right now. That doesn't mean I don't like the market. That doesn't mean you don't like the market. That doesn't mean we haven't made a lot of money off of the market and stocks.
That's
but
right.
If it doesn't make sense today, why would we be in it? Because it made sense 10 years ago. Right.
Right. And the general condition of the general market in general, right, is our issue, right? Because we own stock that has done well for us, and we continue to buy it when it's of value. But that's the thing is most people are buying stocks that just to buy stocks, just to be a collector.
Yeah,
not
and that's where I was going with that real estate AAA, because at times it makes a lot of sense, and at other times it doesn't. And at least in Colorado, it doesn't make a lot of sense to be a real estate investor, at least to collect rent from your real estate, because the value of the properties have gone up so much, and the values of the rents are not high. Maybe in Connecticut, it's a little bit different. You would have to tell me about that, but you do it while it's a good time. You do the things when they make sense. You don't just do something because folk wisdom says you always do this and it always works.
Exactly. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy, and today's show is called How Big is Your Retirement Paycheck? Because people don't know what people don't know. And we want to help people to understand and see things in a way that will help them in retirement to be able to retire and stay retired. And today, going along with today's show, we have a video book that has 3 segments of different information on retirements that you can learn from to help you be prepared for retirement or help you better if you're already retired. And we love to put that in your hand for free. That's like a $75 item. We'd love to give you for free for the first 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616. Ask for the video book. Make sure you say video book. It's animated videos. 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Call now. Daniel, as we talk about how big is your retirement paycheck on financial strategies, you're in Denver, I'm in Connecticut, but we're also playing in other parts, in Florida and such. And I want to just let people know, if you're listening in Florida, that we have an office in Florida and we're able to see people in Florida. It's not just virtual. If you want to be able to get some of this information. And if you're just listening for the first time, hey, we have years worth of information and shows on anywhere that you can listen to podcasts and on our website, agemy.com, agemy.com, and you can hear previous shows there. But today we're talking about how big is your retirement paycheck. Daniel, you talked earlier about that stool, and one leg of the stool, as far as income goes, as far as paycheck goes, is Social Security. Another way could be a pension. There's still a lot of people that are getting pensions, but there are a lot of people that don't have pensions. Another way could be real estate that we just talked about. But, most people in one way or another, they're going to be dependent upon their retirement savings one way or another. Even if it means that they don't have to touch it until their required minimum distribution age, which is 73 or 75, depending when you were born. But at some point, they're going to have to start tapping that, and it will become it. Whether they spend it or not, they're going to have to take it out and pay taxes on it, and it will be income to them. But there's these different legs that can make retirement sturdy and strong. And like you say, Daniel, if they want to go back to work, they can. But we don't want them to have to go back to work like people did in 2008 during the financial crisis.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess what people have to figure out is what kind of investor are they? Because some people are not ready for that 3-legged stool, 4-legged stool, 5-legged stool. They just they're in the accumulation phase of life, and they want to get their money. They want to try to get capital appreciation. There's some people who are speculators, and they're just interested. We've had plenty of those people come in, and they say, I've got $500,000 of losses, so I'd like you to make me $500,000 of gains so I can offset those losses that I've done in the past. And we say, I'm sorry, sir, but we're not the right people to help you because we're not speculators. You didn't learn from the first time, and maybe you should have learned from all those losses. We're not gonna be able to help you on that. We can't help everybody. So
it's interesting, Daniel. Interesting when you say that, because you said, sorry, sir, we can't help you, right? Because it's usually the guys that are the speculators, not the women. We do really great with women because women understand the consistent methodology of moving ahead slowly, right? Like steady Eddie, it's steady what wins the race rather than the rabbit that wins the race, right? The start and the go and the stop and go and up and down and all that kind of thing. So it's really interesting that you say it that way. So go ahead.
So AAA, you always say definitions matter, and is your advisor using the same language as you? So when he says conservative, does it mean the same thing as you? This is very important. Folks listening, you need to figure out what type of investor you are. We've had some pullbacks in the market recently. I had one client come in and he said that pullback, he had money in his 401k. He said that pullback was too strong. I don't like seeing my money go down. I'm taking the money out of the 401k and putting it into the income portfolio because I did not like seeing that. So it's a good time for folks to see, what kind of investor are you? Did you have a big drawdown? Did you not like that? It's coming back. You had the opportunity to see if you're in the right portfolio for your risk tolerance. Is your advisor using the same definitions as you? Because if it was too big of a drawdown and you didn't like that, or you had to close your eyes and you're near or in retirement, well, it's time to make some changes because you got saved this time. But if you're not producing the income you need for the retirement and you're having those kind of pull downs, right? What's going on?
Exactly. That's great, Daniel. And like John and Mary came in and I asked them, how much of are you conservative or aggressive? And they said, oh, well, we're conservative. I said, what percentage of your money do you think should be in the stock market? Oh, all our money's conservative. We're conservative people. All our money's conservative. I said, no, well, how much do you think should be in the market? And they said 90%. And then I looked at their portfolio and I said, guess what? Excuse me, I'm sorry. They said 10% should be in the market. 90% should be safe. So I looked at their portfolio, and what did I find? I found that 90% of their money was in some form of the stock market. And they said, when I told them, they said, how could that be? Our advisor told us that we're conservative. I said, yeah, but his definition of conservative is a conservative of aggressive, where you can still lose money. You can make money, but you can lose money. As opposed to, I think your definition is where you don't lose principal. Make as much as you can, but not losing principal. Yeah. So definitions matter. And if you just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is how big is your retirement paycheck? This father and son team coming to you today to help inform you of things that you may not know to help you have and enjoy a better retirement. And today we have a book to go along with today's show that will be able to help us. It's called Return on Principle, 7 Core Values to Help Protect Your Money. And we love to put this in your hands by our friend David Scranton, CFP, CHFC, etc. And we love to be able to have you do this. David does a masterful job of writing simplistically to be able to help you to be able to understand better how your portfolio should be set up so that you can be a better CEO of your portfolio and don't have to be the CFO. You don't have to be the do-it-yourselfer. You can be the CEO and let your money be passive income coming to you. So we love to put that book in your hand for free, Return on Principle for free, by calling us at 800-725-7616 to the next 5 first-time callers. 800-725-7616. Call now.
Time for some tough questions for these financial advisors. What makes retirement income source different from other financial?
Our extensive experience generating investment income quickly so you can have financial peace of mind, navigate your retirement smoothly, and have more time to spend with family and doing the things you love.
We gotta talk to these guys. We're done here.
You're locked on to Financial Strategy with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
And welcome back. You listen to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is how big is your retirement paycheck? Wealth. How do most people get wealth? Well, wealth is primarily built through income, reinvestment of dividends and interest, disciplined reinvestment, and then growth is a bonus on top of that. I'm Andrew Agemy.
And I'm Daniel Agemy, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about how big is your retirement paycheck. And AAA, we have covered so far what a retirement paycheck is. It's when you decide you no longer want to go to the office to collect your paycheck and you start having your assets or things like Social Security, annuities, pensions start paying you. You're living off of passive income. Instead of going in and working, you're living off of passive income. That's retirement. That's a retirement paycheck.
Right. Exactly. And it's a beautiful thing that you can get that. I mean, a lot of people often enjoy and look forward to being able to collect Social Security because it's money that they worked for. Even if they're working, they like to take that paycheck, but it's not enough. And that's where the aspect of building wealth can still happen in retirement. People don't realize that. Where they can get a paycheck, they can have their cake and eat it too. Where their wealth can be built in retirement because of the dividends and interest that they don't need can be reinvested. And as we so that's a real interesting angle to go for it, because if their investments are working hard with dividends and interest and they can have that paycheck, well, do they need all that paycheck? Do they want all that paycheck? What are they going to do with the rest?
Yeah. And I guess that takes us to the dollar cost averaging versus reverse dollar cost averaging, AAA, because when you're talking about that, we talked about that stool. The stool being the part you stand on, or even your whole weight on the stool, is your lifestyle. And how are you supporting your lifestyle in retirement? So obviously there's Social Security and there is pensions and annuities. But what's the third? What's the third leg? That's typically, for most people, it's their retirement savings. It's their savings. It might be money in the bank account. It might be money in a 401k. It might be money in IRAs, Roth IRAs, things like that. And the question is, are you selling your assets or taking capital gains? Another word for that is timing the market to try to get cash flow to support your lifestyle. That's all dependent on hope and markets cooperating. Or are you getting paid? Are you getting paid from those retirement savings, right, AAA? So do you want to explain that dollar cost averaging and reverse dollar cost averaging? Because I remember sitting in one of your educational events, sitting in the back, and you were talking about how a lady was invested in markets and she was running out of money. And it was through the great financial crisis, and her husband died, and she didn't know the right questions to ask. And she was investing, she was losing, and she was taking income out because she needed the money to support the lifestyle. And somebody in the back could not get their head wrapped around how she couldn't just wait for markets to come back. And if she just waited till today, because this was probably 2018 or so when you were talking about this, markets had recovered from 2008.
Right.
If she just waited till today, she would have got all her money back. This lady in the back of the room did not understand reverse dollar cost averaging.
Exactly. And she couldn't wait. The lady in the example I said couldn't wait because she was retired. She needed $50,000 a year to live on in retirement, and she had to get it one way or another. And people, what do? They typically, if they don't know any other way, they do a withdrawal. They do a cash flow. They engineer income. They take it out of their accounts. And then what happens? They run the risk of cannibalizing their assets and running out of money before they run out of life. And that's what the example was with that lady. And that's why she couldn't wait, because she was retired. Those people listening, maybe they weren't retired yet. Maybe they weren't needed their retirement paycheck, but she needed it. And that was her problem. Her money was set up as if she was still working, not as if she was retired. And that happens too often. That's why we're dedicated to informing people of what's going on. You're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, how big is your retirement paycheck? And today, with the show, we have a white paper. We have a paper to go along with today's show that we think you're going to enjoy. How generating more dependable income in retirement, right? That's the name of it, is more dependable passive income, true passive income streams. We love to put this in your hand for free by calling us at 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Just call it passive income. All right. The paper on passive income, 800-725-7616 for your free copy to be able to help you learn more about how to do this all. All right, and you're listening to Financial Strategies because people don't know what people don't know. Daniel, you wanted me to describe, there's two different ways that things that happen with people money, right? Sometimes people, they put money into the market and they do dollar cost averaging. When you're working, when you're saving your money, when you're in the accumulation stage, that works for you. But when you are in retirement and you're having to take money out, that actually works against you and could make you cannibalize your assets, which is not good. So let's talk about that. So, dollar cost averaging is the idea that when you're working, you invest $1,000 a month into the stock market in some way or fashion, whether it's your 401k or a mutual fund or whatever.
Everybody understands that, right? That's why people like dollar cost averaging so much. The lady in the back of the room listening to your story, she fully understood dollar cost averaging.
Okay, yeah. and where you buy more shares, and then when the market comes up, as the market goes down, you buy more shares. When the market comes up, it jumps up, and your account value does really well. And a lot of people who went through 2008 and financial crisis have a lot of money today because of that dollar cost averaging. But that's where the problem comes in, because if they keep doing that, they're going to run into reverse dollar cost averaging. If not now, when they retire, at least when it's time to take money out of their 401ks because of their required minimum distribution age. And what happens at that point, it's just the reverse. Right, trying to get toothpaste back in a tube of toothpaste. You can't get it. Comes out easy, but not getting back in. But that's where reverse dollar cost averaging. Let's say that you have, that you have a bunch of money. You have $2,000, or let's say you have $10,000, and you're withdrawing $1,000 a month out of there, and the market goes down. Well, you're selling more shares as the market goes down, so that when the market comes back, you have less shares. If you have $10,000, you take out $1,000. If you took out $1,000 in 2001, another $1,000 in 2002, and the market came back in 2007, well, you would have sold, you had 1,000 shares, let's say, you would have sold 300 shares, and so you would have only had $7,000 instead of your $10,000 or $8,000 that you would have expected. And it is not a pretty sight. Usually by the time people run out of money, it's too late for them to do anything about it. Because by the time they realize what they're doing, they have like what I call fourth stage financial cancer. We can't do chemotherapy. We can't do surgery. It's just terminal. And that's problematic for all retirees.
Yeah, and that is why it's so important to understand the concept of dollar cost averaging and reverse dollar cost averaging. If you don't like the game, don't play the game. And what I mean by that is when you're young and you don't have a lot of money, it's much easier to dollar cost average, because if you've got $25,000 in your 401k, market's cut in half, you know what? It's not that much money, right? It's big percentage wise. Your $25,000, $30,000 comes down to $15,000, $10,000, right?
Right.
In these big market pullbacks that we've had throughout the history, but it's not a lot of money in the sense that $10,000 or $15,000, what's that in the grand scheme of your life?
And especially if you're young, you can't touch it anyway. So you just forget about it.
So it's a buying opportunity. You're saving $1,000 a month. Now you're getting double the shares for the same $1,000. That's pretty cool. But as you get closer and closer to retirement, or, you're 10 years out from thinking about, I really want to start seriously thinking about retirement. That's when you got to start thinking about it. 10 years before that. Right. You've got $800,000 in your 401k. You've got $1 million in your 401k. And if that cuts in half, it's a whole new thing, because you're not thinking, oh, this is cool, this is a buying opportunity. You're saying I used to have $800,000 and I have $400,000 today. Dollar cost averaging is set up and designed for young people who don't have a lot of money. Building a robust portfolio that pays you is set up for people who've accumulated money. So when we flip that around, AAA, if that 401k has $1 million and you're collecting 6% interest off of it, that is $60,000 a year. You can still save money. Maybe you're saving another $20,000. That now you've got $80,000 being saved, and you don't have those big drawdowns. But if there's a little drawdown, because there still can be fluctuation in the income model, it's just less fluctuation. You've got $80,000 for buying opportunities.
Yeah.
It completely changes the game.
You're right, Daniel. It's a beautiful thing. And we've been all gearing this toward the title of the show, which is How Big is Your Retirement Paycheck, and getting a paycheck. But for those people that don't use their assets for their paycheck, it's kind of like if they had, $1 million just sitting there over a period of time, then 5 years later, it's still worth $1 million basically, because there's nothing going into it. Whereas if they have $1 million and they're creating that $60,000 or $80,000 a year that you just said, and it's reinvesting in there, well, now they've got like 1.5 or maybe $2 million by that time, whereas the other person only has $1 million, because it's different how you do things. And a lot of people don't understand this, right? Because they have not yet gotten to that point, and they're going to have to learn that by their mistakes, whereas we see it from other people's perspective and what other people have done, and we've educated ourselves because we don't like what's coming out of the Wall Street rhetoric. We believe in investing in the stock market at the right time in the right way, but we don't like the rhetoric of Wall Street because it costs people a lot of money.
The two magics. There's one magic number that doesn't exist, right? There's the one magic number, or the magic number that I hope it grows to this magic number so I can retire. And then there's the magic of compounding. And we prefer the magic of compounding over the magic of hoping for a certain number.
That's right. That's exactly right. And if you're just joined us, you're listening to Financial Strategies and Daniel Agemy, this father and son team coming to you because people don't know what people don't know. And we want to educate them on 35 years worth of experience of helping people to retire and stay retired and how they can apply that to their lives. And today, to go along with the show, we have a retirement readiness checklist for anybody that wants this. And this is a real cool checklist where you can go, are you ready to retire? Are you really ready to retire? Well, it's a checklist that you can go down and find out. Do you have a written retirement income plan? Do you know where your income's going to come from? Do you know the three-legged stool? Do you know what legs you have on your stool? Do you only have one leg, or do you have multiple legs? All these things. Have you planned for inflation's impact over a 20, 30-year retirement standpoint? And I don't have time to address that right now, but these are all questions that you can go down the list. And we love to put this in your hand for free by calling us at 800-725-7616 for your free copy of the Retirement Readiness Checklist. Retirement Readiness Checklist, 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Call now.
Do you have any questions for me about retirement income source?
I just want to make sure I can invest well enough to have enough income, enjoy my retirement.
We build a custom retirement plan based around your income and goals.
How do I know I can trust you?
Building trust does take time, but our investment advisory arm is comprised of fiduciaries, which means our obligation is to you, so you can enjoy your retirement. It's a little more income stability.
I'm in.
That's 2 out of 3.
You're locked on to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy.
I was talking to a client the other day, and he's done very, very well with his assets over the past 10 years. They say it's impossible to beat the S&P 500, especially over the last 10 years. He's beat the S&P 500. And he's talking about retirement and what that looks like, and wanting to retire earlier than he originally planned. The world beats you up sometimes, and he's saying, you know what, maybe I'm going to retire earlier than I thought, and I want to start bubble-proofing my portfolio. I've got all these growthy type investments, and what I'd like to do is start selling them out and going more into the income. He had a split before, but now he wants to be more income, less growthy, and start in the next few years collecting some of that income so he can start seeing how the income model is working. He can get confidence in taking those dividends and work part-time until he goes full on out retired. I'm Daniel Agemy.
And I'm Andrew Agemy, and welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Agemy. Today's topic, how big is your retirement paycheck? So many times people are thinking, I need $1 million. They're looking for that magic number, $1 million, $2 million, $3 million to retire. And our check it's not how much money you have as much as how much income you can get from what you have. And that is a huge key. And that's what we're talking about today. How big can you get your paycheck to be? Mm-hmm. Wow, Daniel, that is something. That story that you just said reminds me of that one client that in particular that we had, because he stands out to me. I think he was the first client that said this well over a decade ago. And he was still working, and he believed in the income model. And he said, you know what? I want to see how this works. Start sending me that money, even though I'm working, even though I'm going to pay tax on that. Start sending it to me. And we did, and he just loved it. And today he's retired and happily retired. From that standpoint, we just love to be able to create that. So that is a very interesting thing that you said there, Daniel, in regard to that. But what do you think about this thing, Daniel, where, people are always thinking about this magic number. Oh, I need, this number, right? They think of a large number, 1 million, 2 million, 5 million, whatever the number is, right? And that's not what it comes down to at the end of the day, is it?
No, it's not AAA. And it's a magic number for a couple reasons. One, it's a magic number because it doesn't mean anything, right? Like, I have $1 million. We talked about the story at the very beginning of the show where our client was saying he didn't want to take more money unless he had $1 million. But his less than $1 million was producing much more than most $1 million portfolios produce. And he can collect all that and not run out of money. That's the point. He can collect all that income and not run out of money. The other thing is that's so magical about this number is, what are you basing the number off of? So if you've got a 401k with $1 million in it, and it's in NVIDIA's stock, or it's in the S&P 500, which between Microsoft and NVIDIA is close to 20%, 18% of your whole portfolio. Do you know 18% of your portfolio is in 2 high-flying stocks? That's a huge number for someone close to retirement, right? So that's why I say it's another magical number, because if those things come down, you don't have $1 million anymore.
Right. And that's what's really scary, right? And what people normally do is they say, oh, that's okay. I got $1 million. I can take out 4% a year. I'm getting a dividend of 1.5, but I can take out 4%. And as long as the market is going up, that works fine. But if it's going sideways or down, they're actually digging into their principal. And, like most people who went through the Depression will say, not that there are many around anymore, but they would say, don't live off of principal, live off of the interest. And that's what we're being a proponent of here, because most professional financial people don't do things this way. Most professional financial companies don't tout this, don't focus on this. And if they do, it's a small amount, like you said, Daniel, 1.5% of the $1 million, which is not going to go very far, as opposed to 4, 5, 6, 7% of that $1 million.
Right. And AAA, when we go back to the 3 to 4 legged stool of retirement, it's one thing if you have 2 legs, right? If you got Social Security and a pension and that's it, you've got those 2 things. So you're doing some acrobatics, right? You're balancing that thing. But what's worse, if you think you have 3 legs and you really only have 2, and that's where we see people get caught up on, where they think that $1 million in their 401ks is the 4th leg or the 3rd leg. And they're standing on the stool like they have 3 legs. And you deal with this a lot more than I did because of our ages. But seeing people that thought they had that 3rd leg through the 2008 crisis.
Right.
And they fell flat on their face because the money that they thought was the 3rd or 4th leg disappeared, and the stool fell over and they went crashing down, and they couldn't come to you fast enough to get out of the market, except now it's at a 50% loss.
Right. And that's what I said earlier about 4th stage, financial cancer, where there's not a lot you can do for 4th stage. For 1st stage, 2nd stage, like a lot of people have today, that works out well. But Daniel, the other thing it reminds me of is kind of like, you got that 3-legged stool, but there's a beaver eating on one of those legs, right? Or a porcupine or something, right? And then it's getting smaller. And that's what happened, right? Where these people couldn't retire. They had to keep working, or they had to go back to work because this one other leg went away. But you're listening to Financial Strategies with Daniel Agemy. Today's topic is, how big is your retirement paycheck? And we're proponents of making sure that you have not just enough money to live in retirement, but more than enough money, more than enough income, more than enough of a paycheck in retirement to do everything you want to think of and more, if possible. Now, if you don't need to do that, if you don't want to do that, ultimately, fine. But if you have more than enough money to do it all, that's a beautiful place to be in retirement. You work long, you work hard. It's time for you to go sit on the beach sipping pina coladas or your favorite beverage and make sure that your money is in the sweatshop. You get out of the sweatshop, get your money in the sweatshop. Ideally, your money's been in the sweatshop, but for a lot of people that I see approaching retirement, their money is not in the sweatshop. So today we have, to go along with today's show, we have a book, Return on Principle by our friend David Scranton. And David has done a great job of helping you understand how you could protect your principal and still get the income that you need in retirement. It's a primer for how to prepare yourself to be the CEO of your portfolio in retirement instead of the do-it-yourselfer or CFO of your portfolio. We love to put this book in your hand for free to the next 5 first-time callers at 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616 for your free copy. Call now. Today's topic on financial strategies: how big is your retirement paycheck? This father and son team, Andrew and Daniel Agemy, coming to you to be able to help you to be able to retire and stay retired. Daniel, we're talking about this mystical magic number. It's kind of like Monopoly money, right? People think, oh, I need $1 million or $2 million or whatever. And that's not what it is. They need that paycheck. And when I'm working with people and doing retirement risk reports for people, I ask them, I go through this time of talking to them of what do they need in retirement? How much money do they need every month to sit on the couch watching the news? Right. That's what they need to retire. Right. And then I talk to them, okay, let's dream. What would you want to do in retirement? And, I want to travel to Europe. Well, how many times a year do you want to do that? Or, you want to do that once a year, once every 2 years? Okay, and you're going to fly first class? You're not going to, and I fix number to them to find out how much more they want to have every month in retirement to do the things they want to do if they want to do them. And, and then we come up with a monthly number that equates to what we need to make the paycheck be. Yeah. And with our clients, Daniel, the thing I love so much about this with our clients is that's usually not an issue with our clients. It's usually they have more than enough. And we can just have that money going into their checking account or bank account, whatever, like our paycheck was. And then they can go off into retirement and enjoy. But many people that are listening to us right now on the show, or many people who don't come to us, that's not how it works.
Exactly. And that's exactly right, AAA. So a lot of people will say, look at how much money you're spending, right? Look how much money you're earning, subtract out FICA, subtract out what you're saving, and that's your number. And you're saying, no, because you want to enjoy retirement. You don't want to just sit on the couch. You want to enjoy retirement. So put in some big wants in there. You're flying, you're traveling. I talked to a client the other day. He didn't know, he didn't know what retirement was going to look at. And so he looked like. So he came to us because he had no idea what that number was. And he had no idea how much his portfolio could generate. And we were able to help him figure that out. And one of his goals was to have enough money to travel. He hasn't traveled. He wants to travel. So his income number is going to need to be bigger than what he was earning. Right. Work. Because he wants to travel. And we helped him figure that out, but we also helped him figure out how to generate the income to pay for that. And now he's ready to go. Now, the confidence that can give people, right? So what do people need to look at? What do they want in retirement, right? AAA, that's what you've been getting. Right. What do you want? Not what can you squeak by at. What do you want? Exactly. And make it big. Make it what you want.
From the top down instead of the bottom up.
Because you won't get there. You won't get there if you don't say what you want. I can promise you won't get there if you don't actually say what you want. So put it out there, what you actually want. Then do an inventory of how much income you're going to get. Look at your Social Security, look at your investment statements, and it will tell you how much you earned in dividends and interest. Look at that number. See, don't look at the capital appreciation or depreciation because you can't count on that from year to year. Look at what it actually earned in income. Add those up, any other passive incomes that you have, and see where the gap is. See if you have enough to do all the things you want or you don't. If you don't, you got to figure out the way to to fix that gap. And that's up to you. You can get somebody who knows how to fix that to help you fix that. You can take classes to do it, but that's on you. That's your problem. You need to figure out a way to fix it, right, AAA?
Exactly. And, Daniel, this comes down to, in my mind, this all comes down to strategy versus planning. Many people, when it comes to finances, they want to do financial planning. And that's okay. But, the difference between a plan and a strategy is a plan, you have plan A, plan B, plan C. And if plan A doesn't work, you move to plan B and then plan C, right? Well, what happens if plan C doesn't work, or D, or whatever, right? Where a strategy works no matter what. It works in good times and in bad times. You make tweaks to it. You adjust it, you work the strategy. That's why this show is called Financial Strategies. It's about the strategies more than the investments or any other things. And it's about the tools we have in our toolbox, both in our literal toolbox, right, as well as our heads, right, our resources that we have available to us. And so, if you just joined us, you listen to How Big Is Your Paycheck? How big is your retirement paycheck on Financial Strategies with Andrew Daniel Agemy? And, to go along with today's show, so many times people are saying, can I retire? When can I retire? How much do I need to retire? Oh, do I have enough? All these different questions that perplex people. And many times people put off retirement because they don't know the answers. And you know what? If you're in our listening audience, you might be able to retire January 1st. If you know what the answers are to these questions. And we love to help you get your answers. And if you want to get your answers, call me, call us. We'll have a RRR conversation, Retirement Readiness Report conversation. And we'll see if we have to go through this analysis or not, if this will help you or not. I'd love to be able to have that conversation with you. I'd love to talk to our radio show listeners. Call us at 800-725-7616 for your free consultation on the RRR conversation. 800-725-7616. We love being able to come talk to you. 800-725-7616. You've been listening to Financial Strategies. We look forward to talking to you next week. And between now and then, remember, if you want your retirement to be stress-free, invest for the I more than the G. Peace.